a few moments across Fire and Blood that really do stick with you. The horrific fate of Arya Targaryen and the mystery surrounding where she disappeared to. The voyage and eventual fate of Alyssa Farman. Did she really circumnavigate the world? The contents of Prince Nymor Martell's letter to Aegon the Conqueror that brought peace between the two kingdoms. Who exactly is Alice Rivers and her babe, and what role will she play in Fire and Blood Part 2, and the implications she could have on the main books. But with all the events that stick with readers from Fire and Blood, perhaps the most impactful and consistent among fans is the infamous Blood and Cheese incident. Getting this moment right in House of the Dragon is going to be really important in how successful the series is going to be in the long term and how it's remembered. If it's handled correctly, it has the potential to be held in the same regard as the likes, or perhaps even the Red Wedding, in terms of the shock of the moment. In a video I made last year, I asked viewers what they think House of the Dragon's Red Wedding style moment would be, and by far the most popular answer was Blood and Cheese. Blood and Cheese refers to the monikers used by two men who were responsible for the assassination of Prince Jaehaerys Targaryen, the eldest son of King Aegon II and Queen Helaena, under the orders of Daemon Targaryen, as a retaliation for the death of Lucerys Velaryon at the hands of Aemon Targaryen, in the skies over Shipbreaker Bay. In the words of Daemon, a son for a son. What makes this more than a simple murder is the sheer brutality of the death, and the psychological aspect at play as well. Present at the scene of the murder is Dowager Queen Alicent, Queen Helaena, and her twin children Jaehaerys and Jaehaera, and Helaena and Aegon's youngest son, a 2-year-old Maelor. The short version is Blood and Cheese hold them all captive in the Queen's chambers, while remaining undetected to the wider castle. They effectively tell Helaena they are going to kill one of her sons, and she has to choose which one dies, or they kill them all. Being the king's heir, she chooses to save Jaehaerys and condemn the baby Maelor to death. However, in a twist, Blood and Cheese tell baby Maelor that his mother wants him to die, before proceeding to behead Jaehaerys instead, into the horror of everyone. What makes it even worse is Blood and Cheese manage to escape the castle and the city. For me, Blood and Cheese and the death of Lucerys are really the two key events that changed the Dance of the Dragons from a political war of words to an all-out war where no side was willing to back down under any circumstances. Until these two events, there was still some possibility or slim chance of negotiation, compromise. But after this, there was no going back. It's one of the defining moments of the whole war, and is just as vital a part of the narrative as the death of Lucerys. The horrific nature of the events is one thing, the beheading of a child in front of his siblings and mother, but also the act of forcing Helaena to choose what one of her children were to die, only to do the exact opposite of her choice, causing irreparable psychological damage to Helaena that sends her into a downward spiral from which she will never really recover. It's important for the writers to get this right. Part of what makes it such a powerful moment is how horrific and damaging it is to the characters involved, and it's vital that these elements don't get watered down and the core concept of the event is handled correctly. If you try to tone it down or absolve characters like Daemon of responsibility by saying Blood and Cheese went rogue in the moment, loses what makes it a fantastic storytelling. At its core, I loved House of the Dragon Season 1, but I will acknowledge the writing was far from perfect, with characters' actions and choices being watered down to absolve them of any responsibility of their choices. For example, Lucerys' death technically being an accident. While I like the concept of dragons having free will, and riders losing control of them, making the death an accident does somewhat take away from Aemond. In my view, it's vital they don't do this with Blood and Cheese. Take a risk and commit to the impact and repercussions, and do it properly. I think the writers are very aware how vital this moment is, and if I'm being honest, and I do think this will be one of the occasions where they stick close to the book as possible. However, there are a couple of factors at play that do give me a few causes for concern. Given the timeline of the books, and where Season 1 of House of the Dragon ended, I can't see a way they could have Blood and Cheese later than the first 3 episodes without stretching out and slowing down the timeline of the show and the war somewhat. Something that would not surprise me, but for me there is a huge issue with having it happen so early in the season. Part of what makes Blood and Cheese the moment that it is the impact it has on Helaena and the frankly impossible choice she is forced to make in having to pick between 2 of her children. The issue here is, given the pace at which House of the Dragon moved through its first season, I can only recall 1 or 2 scenes in which we see Helaena with her children, or even see the children at all. To make it as impactful as it should be, they're really going to have to spend some time in opening the episodes of Season 2 with Helena and her children, to give the viewer a chance to connect and care about them. Without that established, Blood and Cheese is not going to carry the same emotional punch to the gut the books did. The other issue that we have is, as of now, it appears only Jaehaerys and Jaehaera have been born in Season 1, giving no indication of Maelor existing, or even Helena recently having a baby. The way the show presents it is that Aegon and Helena only have the twins. If the show is cutting Maelor, it would really water down what Blood and Cheese is. Part of what makes it so impactful is giving Helena the choice between Jaehaerys and Maelor, then double-crossing her. Yes, the moment can still work without Maelor, but without making Helena choose, it really does take away from the moment. However, something that's important to remember is it is possible they might just retroactively add in Maelor, like they're going to do with Daeron Targaryen. My gut feeling is that is what they're going to do, because if you lose Maelor, then you also lose other cool events, such as the whole Bridge incident, which is another thing I'm really hoping we see on TV, for a lot of the same reasons as Blood and Cheese. What gives me hope is both Daeron and Maelor are represented in the show's opening title sequence after episode 9, so at least there is some indication they exist in the world of the show, even if they've not been mentioned or shown at all yet. While there are some elements that are a bit worrying when it comes to Blood and Cheese, I think the writers know how important the moment is to the story and the fan base as well, so I think knowing this, they will do it justice. Are there challenges and things they need to address to make it work? As of now, yes, but I have every faith they will do it justice. But if you take away one thing from this video, I hope it's this. House of the Dragon Season 1 was a good start, and did much better than I think anyone really thought it would, including myself, to be honest. Season 2 is vital in establishing what happens now moving forward. It has to keep up the quality and improve. How successful Season 2 is will really impact how House of the Dragon is remembered and the future of Game of Thrones on TV.